Hello and welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. For this episode, you're probably just going to have to deal with my daughters screaming in the background. They're supposedly doing their own YouTube video, but I have a feeling this is going to be one of those that I say, you can't put this on the internet because no one wants to watch a YouTube video of dolls screaming at one another. But anyway, you might want to watch my YouTube video. I'm going to do my best to tamp down the background noise. So in this video, I want to discuss the ideas of wisdom and discipline. This just kind of came to me today, really, based on some things that I was reading and learning about at church and in the book of Proverbs. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be discussing wisdom versus knowledge, and then discipline and what it means a little more broadly. I am at a place, I use the Read Scripture app, which I've talked about in a previous video, which I'll put a link to the previous video right here. I suppose I can do that in the description below as well if you want to, or I'll just wait till the end of the video. That's what I'll do. I'll put it, those videos that show up at the end of a video for you to watch. I'll put it there. The video that I did several months ago on my favorite things, one of them I talked about was the Read Scripture app. The Read Scripture app is something I use and then I won't use for several months because I'm in BSF, which is Bible Study Fellowship. And then I'll come back and I'll use it again and I'll just pick up where I left off. Well, currently I'm just now getting into the book of Proverbs. I've just gone through, the first 12 chapters of Proverbs. And then it just so happened that this past week at church, we started a summer series on the book of Proverbs. And in both of those, especially in the Read Scripture app, I had watched the Bible Project video about Proverbs and another Bible Project video about wisdom, the idea of wisdom in the Scripture. And through that and through what I had learned at church, I thought, I want to talk a little bit about this, so it won't take very long. But one of the things that struck me, because I've read Proverbs before, and you hear Proverbs all of your life, especially like things like trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will direct your paths, that kind of thing. But that's probably the most famous one in the book of Proverbs. But the thing that struck me is that the wisdom it talks about is used in other places in Scripture to describe things like the skilled craftsmen that helped build the tabernacle, or navigators on the sea who can navigate stars without having to use any sort of instruments. Wisdom has to do with this applied knowledge. Like you have this knowledge and you know how to use it to do great things. These are wise people. Have you ever known somebody that you thought, you're just so wise? Like, they may not have had some sort of higher degree, like you had a relative, an uncle or a grandfather or a father who just could fix a car. Like he just knew all the ins and outs of a car engine. And it was like, yeah, it'll be real simple. Let's just do this and pull this thing out. And you think, I had this issue and I would have had to take it to the dealership or a car shop and pay hundreds of dollars. But because of the wisdom of this person who just knows cars, that saved me a ton of money and solved my problem and all that kind of stuff. Or someone who, Kira Davis was asking about this on Local. She's like, does anybody do homesteading? And I thought of reading through the Laura Ingalls Wilder books. And back in those days, they had to be homesteaders because they didn't have like towns where they could just go buy everything. They just had to figure out, they just had to live life. Like the father built the house. He planted everything. The mother made all the clothes. Everything. They just did it all themselves. But at any rate, those people were wise, right? Like she schooled her kids. There were times when the Ingalls girls went to school throughout the books. They're maybe near a town, go to school. But then like winter hits and they're all trapped inside for 6 months through blizzard after blizzard. And mom's basically schooling them herself. Or they're moving, they're traveling across the country to some new place and mom is schooling them. So that knowledge is being imparted to the children by the parents. Hello, homeschoolers. But that is wisdom, right? These people knew how to just take knowledge about life and apply it and do life. And just make life out of nothing. That is wisdom. That is applied knowledge. So that, to me, that struck me, the idea of wisdom being things like really knowing how to do things really well. The other thing that I wanted to quickly touch on was discipline. So real quick, since I do like to actually read some Bible verses in my videos, I will read the beginning of the book of Proverbs. So right at the beginning, chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. Now this doesn't necessarily mean he wrote all of these. It means he collected all of these. Some of them we believe he did write, but others he may have just recorded that other people. And we know for a fact that certain parts of this book are actually Proverbs written, certain chapters were actually written by other people. So starting again, verse 2. For learning what wisdom and discipline are, for understanding insightful sayings, for receiving wise instruction in righteousness, justice, and integrity, for teaching shrewdness to the inexperienced, knowledge and discretion to a young man. A wise man will listen and increase his learning, and a discerning man will obtain guidance for understanding a proverb or a parable, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. So we see that wisdom is something we can gain from the Lord, right? We also read in the book of James where it says to, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask it of God, and God will give it to him. So the thing about discipline that I wanted to point out that struck me, and I've been talking about this with my daughter because I was kind of getting on to her about practicing the piano and kind of forcing her to do a little more practice than she wants to do. But I said to her later, what does discipline mean? She said, it's like punishment. And I said, it can be punishment, right? If you do something wrong, you get disciplined. But I said, think about the word disciple, right? If you're a disciple, that means you want to learn from somebody. You follow them, you want to be like them, learn from them. And then I thought, really, think about this. Think about if you met like your idol in whatever it is. Let's say it was in sports. Let's say you met your favorite basketball player and you had a chance to spend some time with this person. What are you going to do with this person? You're going to say, can you show me some stuff? Right? Can you show me how to do some stuff you do on the court? Right? You want to learn from them. You want to be their disciple. This is a famous, really great soccer player, right? Can you teach me some footwork techniques? Right? If it's football player, can you teach me how to throw a better pass or how to catch better or how to run my route better? Like you just want to make sure if you meet somebody that you really admire, you want to learn from them. That's discipline, and that's being a disciple. In this case, he's saying be a disciple of people who are wise. Be a disciple of ultimately God. Jesus, right? Jesus called his disciples, and they then told them to go out and make disciples. So we're to be in awe and wanting to learn all about Jesus and how to be like him, just like you would be to some famous person that you admire for something, anything. It could be a famous pianist or opera singer. Can you teach me, how to hit the high notes better or have better breath control? Like, can I just do a master class with you? Just to coach me a little bit? So really, ultimately, discipline is about learning. And then I also talked to her about, I said, or think about like if you're in a sport, like you go through practices where you're just like if you're in basketball, you're just doing suicides. You know what suicides are, where you start at the baseline, you run like a quarter way and touch the ground and come back and touch the ground and go to the half court, touch the ground, come back and touch the ground. Three quarters of the way, touch the ground, come back and touch the ground, and you go all the way across the court, touch the ground. And you do one of those suicides. For me, I'd be like done at the end of one of those. But I remember playing when I was much younger and in much better health and had a lot better stamina. And I could at least do a couple of suicides before I really felt worn out. Those are the kind, or you're running drills where you're just like practicing passing or practicing shooting, or if you're a pianist, you're practicing scales. You see professional baseball players, they get out there before the game and they do what? Batting practice. They practice fielding, and third baseman catches the ball, a ground ball, and he throws it to the second baseman, and he turns and throws it to the first baseman. Why are they doing that? It's discipline. So to be really great at something, you have to always be willing to go back and focus on the mundane, on the rote, on just the routines, just getting this stuff done. The best pianists in the world will sit down and they'll do scales before they actually play some huge sonata or something. Like they'll do scales. Why are they practicing scales? They learned their scales when they were like 10. There's things that you learn that are building blocks that you always have to come back to, even if you're one of the best in the business. They'll tell you these foundational disciplines are crucial. It's by doing this without even thinking really that you're even able to do something great later, artistically or technically or athletically. You can do amazing things, but you have to be able to do the rote, the mundane, without even really thinking about it. This has to be second nature to you. So that's what it means to be disciplined, right? It means you have studied and studied and studied. And even though you've gone higher and higher and greater, you still remember the importance of these basic building blocks. Heck, this sounds a lot like classical education. I'm starting to homeschool, and next year my daughter's going to be in a program called Classical Conversations, and it's based on this classical education. And there's something in classical education called the trivium. And it's this 3-part, and sometimes it's displayed as like a circle, and sometimes it's displayed as a tree. I kind of like the tree aspect. The roots are grammar. It's like the basics, just basic building blocks of understanding what is this, who is this, when was this. Then the next part, the trunk of the tree, is logic, and it's learning how to fit these things together and what they mean. And then the leaves are rhetoric. And the rhetoric is being able to kind of invent your own ideas based on all these things you've learned. And well, that same is true for discipline, right? The discipline, it takes the grammar, it takes this base to end up to be able to create anything great later on. So that's just what I wanted to talk about real quick in the book of Proverbs as you're reading. To just think about these things, the wisdom to be that applied knowledge of being able to take what you've learned through discipline and make something great out of it. And then the discipline itself is not just like someone getting on to you and telling you, you need to stop doing this and you need to start doing that. But no, it means to really study and learn deeply. And I think that even speaks to, this is kind of like a meta proverb. I mean, it's like a proverb about Proverbs. It's important to study the book of Proverbs itself over and over. Even though you might be like, I'm never going to remember all these Proverbs. Why should I keep studying them? Discipline. That's why you should keep studying them. Just to kind of continue to get it playing through your brain. So that when you're out there living life, it comes naturally to you. So that's what I wanted to talk about for today. That is the way I see it on wisdom and discipline. Thank you so much for watching. You can share that one, especially with like any high school graduates you may have had recently or young people setting off in life. You could say, look, you got to be disciplined. It says it in the Bible. And also, any great person you admire in life has discipline. They've had a disciplined approach to life throughout their life. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe. Please give me a like. You can watch a video that's going to come up here or here. And also, if you subscribe, click that notification bell so you'll be notified of future videos. I hope you were able to concentrate without too much of that racket going on in the background from my daughters being silly. Thank you so much, and I will see y'all later.